I know that this is the end of the long, long, long day. And so we're going to talk during this session about, of course, machine learning, APIs, Cortana intelligence, and also cognitive services. The ability to hear what I say, to speak, to see, to understand, but not for machines, not for human, but for machines. And so, as we're starting right now, the objective would be just to have the little interaction in this room with this kind of cognitive experiment. So I'm going to ask everyone to do the following elements to stretch a little bit because this is the end of the day. Everyone putting the hands like that. Come on. End of the day exercise. Putting the palms exterior way. Perfect. Now the most difficult part of the experiment, raising the left hand, left, left. Put it in the middle on the right part, going below, and close the hand as fast and as close and as hard as you can. Close, close, close. And then, if you hear what I say and if you see what I do, technically everyone should be able to do this. So not quite. It's good, because in that case, this session is going to be useful. So, hello everyone. My name is Giampaolo Battaglia. There are still people trying to figure it out. I'm product marketing manager in the Azure Machine Learning team. And
my name is Luis Cabrera. I am a program manager in the same organization.
So, to start, I'd like to have our little time machine to go back 1 year ago at the previous Build conference. Do you know who is this guy? Anyone? Yes? No? Some hands? Yes. Oh yeah, I heard that. It's the Howl.net website. It was a demonstration which was created a year ago to show the capabilities of specific machine learning APIs called perceptual intelligence. We had this site, which is still available, in which you can upload your picture, click on a button, and have the magic happening with age and gender guessing experience. And the objective was to spotlight the face API capabilities as a simple demonstration. But what was initially a simple demo on stage became a viral phenomenon. And a year now, after the launch of this demonstration, we reached more than 90 people who uploaded more than 500 million pictures. Last number, about 600 million pictures. So, huge phenomenon, and especially, Luis, do you know how many people we reached to have in just 7 days?
Yeah, so we had over 50 million people in just 7 days, which, by the way, is faster than Angry Birds. It went completely viral.
And so how many people we had to create this site which became viral?
We had 1.5 developers work on this site. Giampaolo, thank you for asking.
1/2 and a lot of coffee, right?
You know, it may think like, oh, they will be super developers or something, but they use the right tools. What happened is that they actually built this using Azure, right? So that allowed us to scale to be able to serve this number of people. It became crazy, you know, like we say that we broke the internet because the only times when we didn't scale right is when people thought that we were a denial of service and they kind of blocked us. But no, we were able to do it because we had the superpower of the cloud.
And so what superpower was it?
You know, this is the superpower of Azure. And Giampaolo, do we have this superpower today?
I'd love to have the superpower like Superman. And I think thanks to Visual Studio.
We wanted to do this, you know, like this.
Superpower of the cloud.
Yeah, we have the, no, and so this is the deal. What if we had this superpower of prediction, for instance? What if we could predict what our customers want? What if we could predict what they want before they actually, you know, buy it, right? Like we could tell them, oh, you should buy this because this is the thing that you have the highest probability of purchasing. That would be great. What if we could predict, for instance, whether a customer is likely to come back to do business with us or not? Maybe then we will go and reach out to the right customers and maybe give them a discount or understand why they are not happy with us. What if We could, for instance, understand how our customers feel about our products. Wouldn't that be nice? And we have all this data. We have all this data that has those signals, yet sometimes we don't use it. So our goal is to use this superpower of the cloud, as we call it, and convert all this data into actual insights and why not intelligence.
And so we're talking about a cloud, but effectively an intelligent cloud. And the objective with Cortana Intelligence is basically having the opportunity, as Luis said, to take into account all the various sources of information, of data, coming from different apps, even sensors or data sources. And thanks to Cortana Intelligence, having the opportunity to analyze and to have as an output interesting insights for people, of course, creating smart apps, and also being able to have these interesting triggers for specific apps to have these automated systems. And so if I just make a little pause to provide you a quick overview of what's inside Cortana Intelligence and Cortana Intelligence Suite, I think that you've got different layers to take into account. So of course, it's all about a matter of data, but how are you able to take this data from various sources and able to ingest it and to orchestrate it into an interesting pipeline in which you're going to leverage several and different services? Thanks to the information management capabilities, such as Data Factory, for example, you're able to go into that path. But not only you're able to take the data from different sources and start to orchestrate it, but you've got also the opportunity to store it in cloud storage. And so this is the big data store layer in which you can leverage SQL Data Warehouse capabilities on the cloud, because we're talking about a suite in the cloud. But not only you're able to take the data, ingest the data, and store it if you want, but also the opportunity to make some analysis, leveraging several capabilities as stream analytics for specific statistic on the data in real time, but also being able to create your own machine learning model. And what has been announced yesterday as well was the other layer related to intelligence, taking into account the cognitive services, which we're going to double-click in a few moments, also the opportunity to create and leverage your own bot framework, and also taking into account Cortana as personal digital assistant. And by having the data, store it, making the right analysis, leveraging specific intelligence capability, you're also having the opportunity to visualize the data thanks to specific dashboards with Power BI. And with all these different layers, you're able to have these intelligent and smart insights for people, but also for the specific apps, and of course, having these automated systems.
That is correct, Gianpolo. And when you think why we're here, our mission is to, in a sense, bring all these capabilities, things that seem very complex, like advanced analytics, machine learning, and make it accessible to you, right? In a sense, we want to democratize advanced analytics and machine learning. We want to make it accessible so that each of you can use it in your applications. And we are doing this in several ways.
And if we try just to figure it out, the vision we have about the different machine learning services in the cloud, we can consider this kind of pyramid view. First, you have to take into account that Microsoft has been working on machine learning algorithm, not for the last years, but really for the last decades. And we've got always been working, even 20 years ago with Microsoft Research, on specific algorithms we were using, creating, and integrating into our solutions. But the interesting part has been when we started to say, okay, what if we could provide this capability, this machine learning algorithm externally to people to create their own models? And so we created and launched Azure Machine Learning as this view, which is the interface of a service through a web browser on the cloud, in which you are able to create your own machine learning model. And so you've got this simple interface in which you can drag and drop the different modules, and in the middle, having the whole workflow in which you're taking the data, making some cleansing of it, and creating and training your own model. But there's always something which was happening before, was even specific data scientists were saying, you know what, I don't want to have this drag and drop interface because I'm already working on my own R or Python code. And guess what? We've got also the R and Python modules in which you can directly paste your own code and push on a button to have it created. And still, there was also one important aspect, which was data scientists who sometimes had issues by trying to put the model in production, to operationalize it. And there was this difference of languages between me creating my language in my module in R or Python and trying to put in production with someone who was just thinking with other languages to put the model as a web service. And so we had this very, very interesting button here, which basically helps you to push the model you created thanks to the cloud as a web service, as an API, which can be consumed by anyone inside your organization, but also externally to the organization if you want. And this makes a huge difference.
That is correct. So actually, let's do a demo. And let me see, I'm computer 7.
Demo time.
OK, perfect. So this is the machine learning studio right here. And what we are going to do is, since we're pretty good at doing rude things like predicting people's age, why don't we do something really rude like predicting people's income? So one, I have to say, to get here, I just went into studio.azureml.net and signed in. So I didn't have to install any software. I didn't have to set up a cluster of machines or anything like that, which is really nice. And now I can actually do machine learning. And just a little bit of background, right? Machine learning has to do with actually learning by examples, right? So I have data, and I want the machine to recognize these patterns so that it can learn, so that it can create a model or a function. Think of a black box that somehow can learn these patterns to predict an outcome. So I am going to use one of the sample data sets there. We have a bunch of sample data sets, so you can actually play with the studio. And I'm going to take the first one. This is data from the census. And let me move this a little bit here so you can see it. Oh, maybe I can't. OK, sorry. So it's just a bunch of columns on what people mark, oh, when the census came, they said, OK, so I have so many years of education. This is my race. I'm married or not, and demographics about the particular person. And one of the questions that each of the persons was asked was whether they make more or less than $50,000 a year. So that's actually very interesting. We have, 32,000 rows with that type of information. So maybe we can predict a model that, given the demographics data, can tell us whether that person makes more or less than $50,000 a year. So in machine learning, half of the work is actually getting the data and setting it up in this table so that the system can actually learn these patterns. So now I am going to close this. And first of all, I want to know, how many of you are kind of experts in advanced analytics or data science? This is great news. So the reason it's great is because I can tell you whatever I want, and you will believe me. OK, so I have to tell you something. I could totally cheat on you right now, and I could take all this data and train a model, and then take one of the rows there and check if the model actually learns from it. But because I used all the data, it's kind of knowing the questions ahead of time. So I'm going to be a little bit more honest with you, because you came so late, and it's 6:30. So, OK, so I'm going to actually split the data into two pieces. So you can see that I'm just dragging modules from this toolbar on the left, and that I was able to do searches for each of the modules so that I don't have to navigate the tree. But I might as well also, I could also kind of navigate the tree and see the different options that I have. So then I just connect each of the modules here. And for instance, in the case of the split data module, as I select it, I can see that there are some properties about it on the right. One of them is what fraction of the data goes on the left side, what fraction of the data goes on the right side. Let me take 70% of the data, and that's what's going to go on the left side, and that's the set that I am going to use for training. So it's my training data set. The other one is what we will call my test data set. okay? And then there are two things that the train model module needs. One is I need to select which of those columns to actually predict. And if you were paying attention, the name of the column was called income. So I want to predict how much money people make. The other thing that I need is I need to select an algorithm to train the model. And we have a bunch of machine learning algorithms. Let me just go right here into initialization. I can do, for instance, anomaly detection. I can do classification, clustering, and regression. Regression has to do with actually predicting a specific value. In this case, because people didn't enter the actual number of, of dollars that they made, I am actually just going to learn a classification more or less than $50,000 per year. So it's going to be a classification problem. And even inside there are a bunch of algorithms. One of you actually came to me today and had a great question, which is, how do I pick which algorithm to use? So first of all, you could just kind of try one of them and see how it does, which is what I'm going to do in a second. But we have a cheat sheet that kind of tells you, depending on the type of data, we recommend that you start with this one. But it's easy enough to create these models that you can actually try the different ones and see their performance. So I'm just going to pick, I don't know, a 2-class boosted decision tree. I could have picked a neural network or something like that. And now the output of training here is going to be this algorithm, right? This black box. And that's what I want, but by itself is kind of useless. I actually want to use it with some data so that I can see how good it is. So that's why we left the test data behind. And the process of actually passing the data through the algorithm is called scoring. So I'm going to say score model. Take the algorithm that we just generated and feed it the data that we left behind. And I am going to add, just in the interest of time, one more module called the evaluate model module. It's so hard to say model and module for a Hispanic speaker, by the way. So now I click this play button on the bottom, and in some data center somewhere, there are all these machines getting initialized and crunching my data, which is beautiful. When I started working on machine learning, I used to work on the big tabletop, the Surface tabletop before the little one. And we were using machine learning to understand what were touches or not touches on the sensor. And I tell you, I will buy the beefiest machine that I could find, and we will leave it running over the weekend. I will come on Monday really excited to see my model, and then I will realize that some power policy at Microsoft has shut down my machine, and I will be very, very frustrated. So to me, this is wonderful. And if you were paying attention to the program, there were these green check boxes going on as it was evaluating each of the pieces. The power of the cloud, it's beautiful. So let's take a look at the output of the scored model module. And it's kind of hard to see with this big font here and the small resolution of the screen, but I have to tell you that it added 2 additional columns. It added the scored label. This is the actual prediction. And the scored probability. This is the probability that someone will indeed make more than $50,000 a year. So for instance, the first row or the first person evaluated, we matched the expected income in this case. And we believe it's the probability that this person makes more than $50,000 a year is 3%. Now, I could go and take a look at the 32,000 rows and see how well we did. But because that takes a long time, that's why I added that additional step, the evaluation. And that's the job of this evaluation module. So I can visualize the output. And nothing to fear. This data, this graph, the only important thing that you need to know, this is an ROC curve, is that the closest you are to the corner, the better the model, right? So I could, for instance, have created a different algorithm, and I could compare them, and then I could see which curve is closer to the corner. But easier to digest is the actual statistics here, which is the accuracy of the model and the number of true positives, true negatives, and so forth. And I can even change the threshold based on the probability of how many, whether I think that people that have like a 60% probability should be the ones assigned to one group or not, for instance, and the numbers adapt very nicely. So we have about 86% precision here, which is actually nice, but it depends on, is this good enough for our scenario or not, right? Maybe if I am using this at a car dealer to pitch the BMW car or maybe the Ford, maybe then it's good enough. Maybe for something scientific, I may want a higher precision. And that's why we call them experiments. To increase the precision here, there are a few options. You can either change the algorithm, see which one does better, or maybe you need to increase the data set. Maybe we need more samples, or even further, maybe how much people make has nothing to do with how many years they went to school. Maybe if we had added their last name as a feature, that will tell us more. I don't know, right? Or maybe the color of their shoes. I don't know. So, but this is where it becomes an iterative process to increase the precision. OK, so I am going to show the next step, which is now let's assume that this model is good enough for my needs. I want to actually put it in production. I want to be able to call it from my mobile device so that based on the demographics of the person, I can say, oh, I should pitch this person this car, for instance, right, if I am selling cars. So it is very easy to set up a web service, and there is a demo. Oh, maybe I should have clicked on the other button. It's fine. I'll do it manually. So I can click Set up a web service, predict web service, and this will do all these beautiful animations for me and create this model for production on the cloud. If I run it one more time and then click Deploy Web Service, and I'm just going to skip that part because of time, I will end up with something that looks like this, which is the actual production level web service. It's on Azure. It can scale, right? That's the beauty of this whole thing. And it's nice enough that it even gives me documentation pages that tells me how to call the model. It even tells me, it even gives me sample code in C#, Python, and R that I can just copy and paste and call now from my mobile application, for instance, right? Once again, these are just RESTful services, so they can be called from any platform on any device. So we created a machine learning model. We didn't write a single line of code. So that's actually pretty nice. Woo, yes, I like that.
And the beauty of that is that Luis did that just in a few minutes. And the operationalization part is really strong because we're also having some cases in which you can build, I don't know, a churn prediction model in which then even people in the organization who do not have any understanding nor knowledge in data science can quickly use and call the model even in a simple Excel spreadsheet and having the magic appearing and having the opportunity to leverage these capabilities. And so this, I think, reminds the discussion about the democratization of data science and machine learning we're currently aiming. And so
I want to show one more thing before you go, Gianpolo, just because we have this machine learning gallery. Sorry, there you go, where you can learn how to create these models. We have hundreds of these models that have been created by different people. So if you go to gallery.cortanaanalytics.com, you can actually learn how to create different ones of these.
Or now Cortana Intelligence.
That is correct. We just renamed it.
OK. Let me change it. Perfect. And so at that point, when we're discussing with customers, lots, and I would say, yeah, a bunch of them were pretty excited. And there was always this question, which was, OK, I really like that. But guess what? I have no data scientist in my organization, or I do not have the money to hire it because there are these kind of new unicorns, super difficult to find in this magical forest of the data. So what can I do? Because I've got some data. I'd like to put my data, put somewhere, push a button, and have this smart insight coming. Microsoft, can you do that for me? And so it wasn't an easy answer at the beginning, but we managed to have something which was kind of interesting. And so we announced yesterday the Microsoft Cognitive Services for anyone to be able to leverage these capabilities about creating your apps in order to see, hear, interpret, and interact in a more human way into different categories like vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. We've got about 22 different APIs you can try today for Microsoft.com/cognitive. We've got always free tiers for trying and to see by yourself how easy it is to leverage these interesting machine learning models which have been already created by Microsoft, already trained by Microsoft, and you can really have this input, you push a button, and you've got this smart output which is coming. And so through that, we're going to show you how we're leveraging several of these API in the next demonstration.
Right. So actually, let's go to.
Yes.
Okay, so let me actually show you this. And we actually need a volunteer. And where is the T-shirt? We have a T-shirt here. Okay, there is a cool T-shirt for the volunteer that comes in, but you have to be quick. Come on. All right, run.
It's not going to be too painful.
Okay, beautiful T-shirt with the logo of Morphy, Project Morphy. Yes, okay. A big handshake. Okay.
He's brave.
Big applause. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
So while our volunteer comes up, I am going to run this, what we call the Intelligent Mall Kiosk. And what is going to happen, I want you to come here. There is a camera here. So we were thinking, how can we make something that is really dumb, something really smart? And we thought, there are all these displays all over the place that are just showing advertising. Could we, using some of the cognitive services that Gianpolo is talking about, make something smart? So this is just a demo, something very simple that we put together. But as Gianpolo presses that button, this display is actually going to recognize you, Nicholas, right? So it's going to recognize Nicholas, and it's going to say, OK, what age and gender is Nicholas? And it's going to look into his very deeper feelings and what he wants to buy. And there is nothing that he wants more than a Contoso outdoor chef apron, right? Which is exactly what you want.
Is that true? No. Yes.
Oh, come on. We're not going to give you a T-shirt anymore. OK, but just to show that we're not cheating, I'm going to let you borrow my daughter. I couldn't bring her with me, sorry. So, no. Sure, if it's just Harry, we'll give her a toy or something. But if you both are on the image, let's see. There you go.
Let's have a family picture.
Yeah, OK. Family picture. So now, imagine that you were with my daughter, and it recognizes, OK, this is a father, and it has a child, and there is nothing else that daughter wants more than a new play area, right? A $2,000 play area. So now, what if? What if this kiosk could not only understand what it sees? What if it could also understand what people are saying about this play area? So let's actually, this is very expensive. I don't like it. And I speak Spanish, so OK, maybe.
One more.
One more time.
3, 2, 1.
This is very expensive. Good enough. What?
This is super expensive.
OK, good enough. So, thank you, Nick. Thank you. Thanks. So there are two things that we did. And you notice that we weren't cheating because it actually changed the text as we said different things. But we used the speech API to convert our voice into actual text. And then we did one more step, which is we actually used the text analytics API to understand whether the person was happy or not with the suggestion. So let's do it one more time.
And
okay.
Basically, the interesting part is that, I don't know if you see that the page changed as well. We're still in very nice purple page, but we had the nearly $2,000 playground, and we changed to the $591.9 playground now, based on what you said.
Yeah, so if I were to say this is, I don't know, like I'm happy with it or something, let's try it. This is just what I wanted. I love it. Okay. So anyway, so we did a, oh, what are you doing?
Sorry, up.
Okay, so let's try it one more time, and then we're done. So this is exactly what I wanted. I love it. It's my dream. Okay, so now.
It's never stopping.
Okay, so we'll fire Gianpolo. He keeps pressing the button. So we'll show text analytics on the next demo. So go ahead. So these are the different APIs. If we go to the next one, we use the face API to detect, the age and gender of a person, right? This is just one of the cognitive services that we have. But this one can also be used to actually identify a person, for instance, and even tells you like, oh, this is the pitch and the angle of the face, which is actually pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. And I want to show you now in a demo, how do you sign up for these cognitive services, right? So some of them are in Azure already, so you can actually get to them through Azure. And pretty much all you do is pick intelligence, then cognitive service APIs, and you all have the Azure, I don't want to debug azure.com right now. Okay, and then you can pick the API type that you are interested in, and then you can sign up for it. And for all of them, we have like a free tier that you can use. So you can play with it all you want. And once you go to production, then you pay based on the actual number of transactions that you do. Perfect. Oh, actually, one more thing. So there we have the API Explorer. Let me show you. For each of the APIs, you can learn how to use them. In the case of face APIs, for instance, this is the documentation. And the cool thing is that you can actually test the service. In this case, ahead of time, I actually modified the URL request to use some image, actually the image of the guy in the apron suit. And I send it, and then there is the response, which tells me there is a face there, and this is the rectangle. And if I had told it that I wanted additional metadata, it would have told me how old that person looks, for instance. We also, move to the next slide, please. Okay, we also use speech APIs to convert from speech to text, text to speech, pretty straightforward. And we use text analytics, and this one does a few things. We'll actually show you how sentiment works, but it also does other things. It can actually detect the key phrases of a piece of text, so you know what people are talking about. We have a new capability that we added recently that has to do with actually taking several records. Imagine that you have all your reviews or the subject of all your emails, and you actually want to find what are the topics. So we have this clustering capability that clusters each of these records depending on what they are talking about, and then you can find what are the bigger clusters or the trending topics. And last but not least, we can also do language detection. But what better way to show you this than to actually have Gianpolo show us the demo site.
So here is the demo page directly into the website of Cognitive Services for Text Analytics API. So it's pretty straightforward. You've got a page, a blank part in which you can put any kind of text. And the beauty of Text Analytics, as Luis said, is the opportunity to leverage any text made by any customer. Do not even read what's inside that, but process it thanks to the API. So I went to my favorite Microsoft Store, and I took a review. A few lines, I copy it, and I paste it on the go directly in the window. Paste, push a button, job done. So what's happening right now is that you've got different elements appearing. The first one, of course, language detected English, which is correct, perfect. And then the interesting part is that the 3 sentences which have been pasted have a positive sentiment of 88%, pretty positive. And it's true, when you see the sentence, I love the pen, and I've got so many uses, pure fun, very positive. And the interesting part below was what Luis was mentioning as the key phrase extraction. So consider that the main element of the phrase, of the paragraph, are being extracted. And so without looking globally at all the sentences, you can globally say, okay, it's a pretty positive sentence, and it's talking about the pen, and it's a product, quality, pressure sensitivity. You've got the main elements. But as it's real-time demo, we can totally change the sentiment based on that. And I say, will I make it?
You can use the mouse right there.
Working. I just purchased this product. I hate the pen. I don't know why. And I have no uses for heat besides the pen. Is pure sadness. I cried. My cat died. And hopefully, 4%. Now, the dying cat is a must-have to change the sentiment. So, poor cat. But really, when you think about that, you really have the opportunity now to leverage all the user-generated content in any site when there are reviews, comments, and to have the opportunity to take, to leverage this information, to have this structured data, and not only going into these ratings you could see, because what's the difference between 9.8 and 9.5 for a product, but really going into the comments and know exactly what's going correctly, what's not going good, what's trending, and have this smart insight thanks to the API. Go here.
Okay, so there are many, many ways that we can use the APIs. For instance, you may want to understand when to deal with a customer support representative. Imagine that you could actually track sentiment over time as a conversation goes on, right? You could understand what your customers are talking about. Are people happy with my services or not? One example of it is a company called Kiosk, and if you go eat at a restaurant like Red Robin or around here, you will actually see these little tablets as you are eating, and you can do several activities there. But once you are done with your meal, they ask you, how was your experience? And you can actually type what your experience was like. So they are using our sentiment APIs to understand how people are happy or not with the service. But furthermore, because they can extract the key phrases, they can correlate which key phrases people have positive feelings about and which ones they don't. They even can tell you how each waiter average sentiment is, so they know which waiters are doing well and which waiters are not. So that's actually pretty exciting. Very, very nice application of text analytics.
I think that we can also show an interesting other way to visualize the outputs. In the previous demonstration, you saw that you had the score. But the beauty of the API is also the opportunity to aggregate all the scores of all the reviews for the same topic and being able to track the evolution of the sentiment over time. So we had, of course, synthetic data, but this kind of very nice alpine ski house sentiment. And you can see more or less that it's pretty low during the summer. And of course, during the winter, thanks to the snow, we're having higher sentiment for this ski house. But it's good to know that it's positive, but it would be even better to know what are the main discussions, what's going on very, very well inside the house and what's not going well. And so we've been able also, thanks to the key phrases extracted, to know exactly what are the main subtopics related to that. So if you look, for example, into the topic for baby, you would have, for example, a strange negative sentiment coming around this period of time because of the noise. And maybe if I'm having a family, this wouldn't be the best place to go and to hang out during the winter period because of a lot of parties, I don't know. And then you can directly double-click on other characteristics to know exactly when it's working well and when it's not working well, if I'm able to click on it, yes. And sometimes the topic doesn't change a lot because the sentiment is always very positive.
Yeah, thank you. So now there are other APIs. So one of them is the emotion API. And if you were down at the booth, you probably saw us play a little bit with it. And instead of explaining what it is, I think it's better to actually show a demo. Going back to the little experience that we had here, and just because I ran out of T-shirts, we will be the victims ourselves. So Okay, so we have the emotion photo booth. And the way it works is I'm going to have Gianpolo come. Come on, Gianpolo.
No.
Come on. We have to do some of the faces here and see if it detects it. So Gianpolo was neutral. I was pretty happy. Oh, sorry, we're here, right? No? Oh, yeah, there we go.
I'm afraid I'm angry.
Yeah, so I'm surprised, I'm afraid, angry. Yeah, you see? I'm disgusted.
You're good at being disgusted.
Maybe I'm disgusting.
Some contempt.
Okay.
It's working. No.
It's okay. But you get the point, right? So it's actually kind of fun to see how it is able to recognize you.
We're nearly everything.
Perfect.
It was the bingo time of the emotions.
We almost get the prize. So now going into, okay, so that's what we just showed you. We have another one, and this is my favorite API because I work on it, which is the recommendations API. And by the way, we have a workshop where you can actually learn how to use this API hands-on as well as text analytics. And what this recommendations API does is actually looks at your previous transactions it's something similar to what you see in Netflix, for instance. When you are done watching a movie, it recommends you what to watch next. Or when you go to an e-commerce site, it tells you, oh, you know what? You may want to purchase this item, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, exactly. How does it know? And what happens is that it can actually be trained based on the transactions of all the people and information about the different products being sold. So when I was a kid, there were only 2 channels on TV to watch. So that was pretty nice because I had a 50% probability at any time of picking the best show ever. So my kids have a different problem. If you have a service like Xbox, for instance, you have about 100,000 streaming options, right? Imagine how frustrating that must be for my kids. Besides, now kids have the attention of a gnat. So unless you give them what they want right now, they just get frustrated and they leave the experience and go play Minecraft, and they always like that. So Xbox tried to solve this problem using a recommendations engine, using machine learning. And in our effort to democratize machine learning, we said, that's actually pretty good. We should make a product out of it. So now we have the recommendations API as one of the cognitive services. And in short, this is how it works. You give it some item, and it gives you back the items that have the strongest correlation to that item. How does it do it? By taking into consideration catalog information, or this is information about each product that you sell, as well as transactions. So for instance, user 35 interacted with product 890 at this time, and they actually purchased it. So now imagine that you have hundreds of thousands of these transactions, and now you just crank the machine, let it do the analysis, and behold, you have your recommendations model, right? It's actually pretty sweet because it cannot only give you recommendations for a particular product, for instance, in the case of a product page, but it actually takes several items as input. So you can provide personalized recommendations to each of your customers based on their previous transactions. Or, for instance, if they're about to check out and they have a market basket, you can say, oh, you know what? You just bought carrots and broccoli. I bet you want peanuts to go with it, right? So it is actually pretty good at complementing these market baskets. And just to do a quick demo, here I created a recommendations model using the Microsoft Store transaction data. And if I pick, for instance, the Mike Wazowski infinity figure, I can see that the model indeed found other toys that kids are likely to purchase with that product, right? But if I pick something very different, I don't know, Assassin's Creed, why not? Which is not something that a kid that plays with Mike Wazowski will buy. It realizes that, you know, these are the Xbox games that are most likely to want to be purchased with that product. So we have some customers that are already in production with this. One example is All Recipes. You know, it's has a lot of traffic. It's a very popular website where you can go and pick your favorite recipes on what to cook tonight. And they used it, actually, they used the signal of when people made a recipe a favorite, or when they saved it to their favorites box, to predict which recipe the customer is likely to want to see next. And then they added this next button. And now that next button is not just based on some heuristics, but actually there is a machine learning model behind it that says, oh, you know what? People are very likely to want to see this next recipe, for instance, right? Another example, Portugal Telecom in the media business, right? Portugal Telecom is one of the largest broadcasters in Portugal, and they are using a recommendations engine to predict what shows a customer is likely to want to watch. And by doing so, they are increasing the engagement of the users, increasing discoverability of their catalog, and decreasing their customer churn. Even in retail, retail platforms like Orchestra are using us to power their retail experiences. So these are just a few real customers that are using our engine. Okay, let's take a step back. Over the last hour or so, we have discussed about a machine learning platform that can allow you to create any kind of machine learning model that you want. We have also talked about cognitive services, which are turnkey solutions where you don't need to do any of the data science. Just in some cases, you just need to bring your data, press run, and there you go. You have what you need. And okay, Gianpolo is telling me that we have like 2 or 3 minutes, so we're going to do one more demo, which is super awesome. Yeah. So one thing that we are able to do with the Face API is that we can actually train it to recognize specific people. So Gianpolo was playing with a Coke bottle, and we took a few pictures of him, and we said, okay, I told the system that's what Gianpolo looks like. So if we were to put Gianpolo in front of the camera now, and just to show that I'm not cheating, I'm going to put myself there too. Let me see, where are we? Okay. Okay, so there we go. Oh, sorry. Let me press this button. Okay, so it actually recognized both Gianpolo and Luis because I also trained it with some of my images, right? So that's actually pretty exciting as well.
So just through that, you see that not only you're able now to have this age and gender gazing experience, but also having the face identification in place when you're trying the model. So it's joining the bridge between the model already created and baked, in which you just press a button and wait for the answer, and the previous discussion about machine learning, in which you're training the model in order to have the opportunity to have these smart outputs.
Exactly, right. So I want to show you a few resources that are available to you. Just to recap, right? So these are very important. The first one is if you go to Microsoft.com, or if you go to CortanaIntelligence.com, then you can learn about the breadth of products that constitute the Cortana Intelligence Suite. Some of them we didn't talk about today, but with them you can deal with all the big data and what Gianpolo talked about, doing analytics and flowing that data all the way from storage to intelligence. We have the cognitive services, and we showed you a few of them. There are 22 of them. We also have the Machine Learning Studio, and we put our email there so that you can contact us. We are super, super interested in telling success stories, just like the ones that we showed. So if you have something really cool to share, something really interesting that you want to do with our APIs, please contact us. We are very agile, and we like to be there next to you as we learn from you, from your problems, and we adapt our algorithms accordingly.
And do not hesitate really to try by yourself. I mean, the cognitive services and even the studio of Azure Machine Learning have the opportunity for you to try, to play with it, to see what could be the output, and to build your own machine learning model on the go.
Yeah, there are a few more things that we want to show you. Here, while at the conference, there is still time to learn a few more things live. So tomorrow, for instance, we have an advanced analytics an advanced analytics session that talks about R and SQL. So that's if you are interested in doing machine learning on premise. So that's one way to do it. If you want to learn more, so like a more advanced version of the Machine Learning Studio, there is the Data Science for Developers session. So we highly recommend it, as well as the workshop. If you want to roll up your sleeves, create your recommendations model, integrate text analytics into our website, that's actually available for you as well, and we'll be there to guide you and help you. We also have the coding challenges if you don't want to talk to anybody and just sit and work. And the hackathon that starts tomorrow night, and you can win prizes by using our services. And you have seen some fun demos. I'm sure you can do better than us. Last but not least, we want to let you know about the Cortana Analytics Workshop. Come visit us in Redmond. There is this workshop. You can learn more about it at cortanaworkshop.com. And then you can learn about the whole breadth of Cortana Intelligence products. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here at 6:30. And please fill your evaluations.
Questions? No questions?
We will be around here if you have questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.